Hey everybody, this is your host Jebb and co-host
Tyler Green, and welcome to the post-Posies Tour edition of Alternative Dudes with our special guest all the way from Seattle, Arthur Rick Roberts. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey Arthur.
You there?
Yeah,
we're here.
Sorry about that.
But where are you? Where are
Oh,
you
we're actually I'm from Connecticut. That's Jebb, and then Tyler over here is actually from Philly. We do this
Philadelphia.
online.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Pandemonium in the streets right now, I'm sure, huh?
Well, the Eagles are going to be playing the Super Bowl, so
That's right.
so.
That's right.
That's what I was referring to, yes.
So yeah, it's funny. My drummer and I planned to practice on Sunday. I don't think both of us realized what day it was. So I'm texting him and I'm like, "Are we still good for Sunday?" And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "It's the Super Bowl." He goes, "Yeah, we're still good." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I was like, because he didn't. I'm not a big sports fan. I definitely watch, but I'm still not the biggest. I'm more of a music fan than sports.
We're artists. We don't care for these Philistine things.
True that. That's funny.
Yeah, I had to cancel with my band too because my aunt said under her house we're not having anybody ruin the Super Bowl for us. We're not having anybody interrupted. So.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Yeah. Is your music that good that they can't take the interruption? Is it like,
no.
Oh, we just can't stand it?
It's good, but not
I
that
got you.
good.
Nah, mine's very raw. But anyway, here we're with Arthur here. So Arthur, I actually brought you on the show because, as you could probably tell, both of us were huge Posies fans. But we also definitely want to hear about your music in general, more than just the Posies, as since you've been with the band Peach and also Sushirobo, as I've read here. And did you just record an album recently as well? I remember you messaged me about that.
Actually. I play in a group out here called The Service Providers. And there is one Mike Musburger on the drums and one Dave Fox on the bass. So some other expats there.
Do the Muzz.
Some other Posies here. I see.
Yes.
Fight the Mez.
Fat the Muzz.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily want to draw the ex-Posy thing attention to it, but we Dave suggests we just call it the ex-Pose and get it over with. So
that's actually
maybe.
cool.
Oh, yeah.
I like that name.
We'll get more into that.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get more into that as we go along. But to start off, how did you start off as a musician?
When I was I liked playing around on a friend's piano. That's kind of my earliest memory of it. Trying to pick out even just like the tune from Jaws or something on it, and just sort of loving the sound of it. My dad had an old Gibson. He had a ES 125, and
nice.
Every once in a while I would get that out and kind of dink around on it, and he would try and remember the couple of tunes he could. So yeah, we'd play on that. He actually played with Tony Tennille, as in Captain and Tennille, when they were in college together.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
Her band. So God, I wish I could find that photo. He has a photo somewhere of him and some other guys wearing tuxes, all standing behind her, and he's holding his guitar.
Cool.
But anyway, yeah, he's not a big musician, but he did it back in college and had just kept that guitar for a long time. So yeah, that was kind of what got me interested in it. And I said I wanted to take guitar lessons, so my parents went and got me a piano, and that didn't light a fire under me. So I saved up some money, got my first electric there with my dad's help, and anyway, that was probably about 15 or so.
Now, when did you get into bass? I'm always
I
bass.
never really did. I got into bass the day the Posey started. So
wow.
I switched to bass for them. Yeah, and
hung
it up afterwards.
Oh,
so
geez.
there you go.
And I have to admit, probably one of the best. I in my opinion, from what I've listened to, and I've listened to a lot. I swear, a lot of people probably think I just talk about the Posies. That's all I listen to. No, the licks on like My Big Mouth and some of those licks throughout the whole Dear 23 are just insane. And the bass is what I'm playing
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I just one of the best in my. That's as soon as I got to add you, I was like, I gotta ask this guy. And the fact that you actually just picked up bass to play just for them and then put it down, and even to mention the writing for the two songs that they'll probably I hope they release, because I really want to hear them be redone and everything. I would love to hear My Lonely Friend and As Good as Yours, because they're just so good songs. Really, really good.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
man. That's very
Oh,
nice.
no problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have some other questions here too. So did I mention well we said this at the beginning of the post Posies tour episode of our thing here, and actually when I went
so
to
they just come through East Coast. Then?
yeah they did
think they
Philly
were
I believe
here this
first.
week.
Oh, they're doing
Yeah.
Seattle this week. Well, they're almost already. I don't know if that's the end
They
of
played
their...
in Kirkland, which is
Oh,
a
cool.
suburb near Seattle.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
nice. Were you there for that?
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I did not go. So
Yeah.
I think they'll come back through. They seem to be here several times a year
know,
for one thing or another.
I know Dave's going to be playing with them. He was just messaging me about he's going to be on the Frosty on the Beater tour with them,
Yeah,
which is
with
really
Mike.
interesting. And Mike too, yeah. And I remember you mentioned there was actually a party that I guess they had for Mike, right? Correct? I think we were talking about. I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty
Mike
cool.
just had his birthday, and a lot of people showed up to
Awesome.
fête la meuse, as it were, and he was kind of holding court at a friend's bar out in Ballard, another Seattle suburb.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, a lot of people showed up. It was really really cool to see Mike so beloved, I guess.
It's
You know?
awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Another
He
two
was,
people forget about them, like especially with the Posies. Forget about you guys. But it's like you guys are the groundwork. You're the reason there that the album can stay together with even with Ken or John. But just the album foundation needs to be there, and it definitely Frosty on the Beater and Dear 23 couldn't be anything without the foundation if it was just the two of them. I mean, they could do it, but it'd be different. And I have to say, yeah.
Well,
Right.
Mike would be the first to point out he's had quite a career since then, but he is proud of what he did on that record. So yeah, he played for years with the Fastbacks out here, which is a local kind of punk institution.
Oh, cool.
Love the
but-
fastbacks. Yeah.
Yeah. He's played with them as well as filled in for just about everybody. He was in the Super Suckers for a while. I think he's kind of sat in with the Presidents. He at least toured
cool.
with them as a tour manager and drum tech. He's just he's filled in for just about every band in Seattle. So
I definitely have Mike on the show.
Yeah.
Definitely, I
Yeah.
would love
Oh,
to
yeah,
have him
you
on
gotta
the
have
show.
Mike
So
on.
I'll
Yeah,
share
he's
him this
got
one.
great
This will be the interview to get him on, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but so the Posies tour actually started off here in Philly, but John came in a few days before, because they had something going on in Philly, which I was actually a part of. I got him that gig. I used to go to this place called the Fort Washington School of Rock, and we had him over for a seminar.
very cool.
Yeah, he was talking with the kids about like his experiences, played some songs. It was fun. It was great having him.
And Tyler,
Yeah.
Tyler, where did he
What's
stay?
the
Oops, sorry, Arthur.
what's the age range at the School of Rock?
I would say from first grade to senior year of high school. I went there.
But it is really young then in some cases.
Yeah.
Huh?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen kids as young as 6 or 7 go
Wow.
there. Like I've been there. I went there from 2013 to 2015. I was known as the resident Posies fan there, which was funny. And the music director there, Jim Love, is also a huge Posies fan. And John wanted me to get in touch with one of the teachers there. So I got him in touch with him and Jim Love, which was very fun. And yeah.
And I was asking before, just to add to the funness, Tyler, where did John stay when he was down in Philly?
Oh,
mention that.
well, there's this place in Philadelphia. It's called
Your house.
Tyler Green's house.
Yeah, there we go.
Hmm.
It was really. I got the text. He's like, John's at my house. I'm like, no, he's not. And then it was kind of funny because I saw them in Boston. I went up with my dad, and we went to the winery and the pre-show. And John comes down to talk to me, and that's when I told them to play "Open Every Window" because we were just talking about it when I was in the hotel. I'm like, I want to hear that. I want to hear that. See if they can still play that, and they did. It was awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
great song.
Yeah.
And so basically, John comes up to me and he hands me his phone. He goes, "I just called Tyler for you." I'm like, oh, "Okay." I was like, my brain's not functioning right. Why did you call Tyler? But it was fun, an awesome show, just something I've always wanted to see them. And it was kind of weird that they did a cool version of My Big Mouth. They did Your Bass Lick on the guitar, and it was like really weird. But it had John's distortion, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
I was like, I need that bass lick.
Yeah.
But it definitely needs the bass lick. But
That's
Are they playing with like a backup accompaniment?
No, it's just the two of them doing a
you know,
duo.
they were doing like a laptop thing for a while, I think.
Oh,
really?
yeah, that was for the Solid States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
But now
it was
it's
actually
just like
yeah.
it's just the duo gigs now. It's just like them on guitars.
And then Ken
all
will switch
live,
between
just guitar.
piano.
Yeah.
And then Ken will
Yeah.
switch between piano and guitar. Do
Yeah.
like they did a cool version of Coming Right Along. Did it with piano, which
Oh,
I've never
piano?
heard
Cool.
before. Yeah, it was piano and guitar, so that John's leads, but it was really cool. I mean, they played a lot of good stuff. They actually played Compliment from Failure, which I was surprised. And they bothered me with this one. They started playing Flood of Sunshine, which is one I've been waiting to hear live for my whole life, and they go right into Suddenly Mary, and I'm like, stop. I'm out of here.
They knew.
Leaving. They wanted to just they knew they couldn't give me too much of a good day. No, it was awesome.
Right.
And then I went. It was actually funny. We met an artist there that we both know called Jim Terrell. Oh, he's pretty cool. We're probably gonna have him on at some point too. I just was like, went downstairs like, you know Ken? I'm like, I don't know. He's the one that played here, right? But yeah, he gave me his album, so I got some more music to talk. But actually, I wanted to ask you about your band Peach, definitely, because John actually mentioned them to me, and I didn't know anything about them, so I'm interested in that.
Okay. Yeah, should I mean, just tell
Yeah.
the story
Divulge.
behind that. I mean, the story is the same as all other bands.
All
really.
right.
My band in the early '90s to about probably '92 to '95 or so. So post Posies, I teamed up with some guys I knew from around. I had guested on another guy's record. Mark Adler had done a project called Like Rain, and they had opened for the Posies at times, and I would fill in on bass for them if they needed it. They were kind of a duo that expanded to a full-on band. So anyway, after they'd split up, and then Mark and I started kind of writing some stuff together, as well as just learning each other's songs, doing some 4-track demos and things, and liking the sound of it. So yeah, we teamed up with the drummer was Sean Allen. He had been the drummer for a Seattle band called Room 9 that was kind of a psychedelic Paisley Underground sort of band that was big in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
And our first bass player was Nick Lynham, a transplant out of Chicago who had come to Seattle and was hoping to fall into a music project. So we were on the hard rock bent for the time, even though we were about maybe 5% punk rock, 95% classic rock or something. So much more sort of kind of
cool.
we were into Sabbath was a big motivator for us, as well as
love Sabbath.
Trying to remember at the time what really got us together. I think Neil Young, Black Sabbath. God, it's been a long time. But anyway, the sound of it was probably more kind of like in the vein of the Screaming Trees, sort of hard psychedelic rock.
Awesome.
But the songs were more pop in nature, I guess. So shorter and had choruses and such.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, we did 2 records, two full lengths, and a couple of EPs, singles on some odd labels around. The albums came out on Caroline, which at the time was I think they were looking for the new Smashing Pumpkins. They'd had a big success with trying to rip. Thought, all right, dudes from Seattle, hard rock, guitars, let's do it. And our records did nothing. They came out, they pushed them hard to the hard rock radio stations, but unfortunately our release date, if I remember right, was the same day that like Lenny Kravitz's 3rd album came out.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
The timing.
If a radio station like they just doubled down on going to the big mainstream stations, and you come out the same day as that, an unknown band stacked up against heavyweights. So we got lost in the mix, but toured a lot, argued a lot, made some good records.
So John Auer produced you guys, right? Or was that just for one record? Or
I asked him to mix the first record.
Oh, okay, cool.
Craig Montgomery, who was a longtime Seattle sound guy, including for the Posies, had. Actually, Craig recorded those sessions for the Posies with Open Every Window, stuff like.
Oh,
sweet,
awesome.
yeah.
The Eclipse sessions.
We're definitely gonna get into that. At some
we
point.
will put that on here too. Yeah, or the fan-made, fan-named Eclipse sessions. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, Craig recorded the first Peach stuff along with some things we'd done out here at Egg Studios, and then ended up going to get it mixed by John. I really liked the work he was doing in the studio at the time with a couple of bands, Truly and Love Battery. I thought he'd done excellent work on that and was really coming into his own as a guy in the studio. So I wanted to get his kind of guitar heavy, thick touch to it, So had John do the mixing for the first one. Second one was Phil Eck, who went on to got stuff with Built to Spill, Modest Mouse, a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
Phil's kind of a
That's awesome.
hot shot nowadays.
Yeah, with Modest Mouse, of course.
So is there anywhere where we can hear these Peach records by any chance?
I don't know if they're streaming anywhere. I've not checked into that. I don't even really know what the status of Caroline is these days. They kind of became more of a distribution outlet for a bunch of other labels rather than doing stuff in their own right. So I don't know what they've done.
Discogs would probably be the best way, but you have to buy them. We'll probably see if we can find them on
yeah,
Discogs.
but here's the cool thing: is that you can typically find them for 1 cent somewhere. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I will be searching.
When I find the CDs around, at least the vinyl's expensive, but
Yeah.
the CDs seem like they're always in the bargain bin.
I
if
was
you
actually
find-
Right.
just talking.
I just Googled Peach band, and the only thing that comes up is a metal band from England that originally started
Is that you,
recording
Arthur?
between 1991 and 1994. But sadly, there is no
wow.
there is no Arthur or Rick Roberts.
On my credits,
So,
yeah. I think we had a problem because there were several bands named Peach at the time,
geez.
and one of them was called Peach Union. kind of. So there were some mix-up, and we had to make some threatening phone calls and stuff. But one of the
God,
Peaches was like a spin-off of the band Tool, if I
Oh, wow.
remember correct. And so I think we just got lost in confusion there. But yeah, I noticed. Like our records were for some reason being attributed to them on Discogs or something, All
Yeah, a
Music
lot
or
of times
something like
that happens. I know
Yeah.
just speaking locally, I have my band Tyler's got a band as well, and I went ahead and did some of my solo stuff and I put it online, but I did it through the distribution service, and for iTunes they decided to put me with somebody else. I'm like, that's not theirs. Okay. Like the name's not even that like it was weird. But I could see like a lot of times that happened, the mess up, and it's different now though. Maybe I could ask you this about too. Is something I've always wondered. Was it easier to get a record out like back then than it is now? Because like nowadays there's a lot of you do it on your own everything, but back then they had a lot of people like record companies and stuff. Was it easier to get your music out or?
I think it was hard to get the attention of someone to put your record out for you. That was the hard part, but we were lucky to have Caroline. But in terms of doing a record, I mean, plenty of people were doing it essentially the same way that we do now. You pay for your own recording, you press 100 copies, or dupe them on your own CD burner or something, and start handing them out. And vinyl hasn't. It was still being pressed, all the time back then. It was sort of novel to have a CD and vinyl. So, at time, vinyl was still about as expensive as it is these days too.
Oh, okay.
At
Wow.
least,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
adjusting for inflation, it was not. It was not a cheap and easy thing to do. In fact, if anything, it seems like nowadays there's more care to getting it done, like the skids are greased to make it a little easier for you, but it's still kind of pricey.
Yeah, actually, I just spent $45 on a 45. So it's $45 for a 45 just getting pressed from the UK. My band and I did that, and we only bought 2 copies. My bass player doesn't have a player, so he's like, you know what, I really don't want to spend. And it's like, I'm like, I get it. If you don't have a player, there's really. But the point that it's on vinyl, though, it's like it's the coolest thing, and that's been a dream of mine. So that's really cool. But
Yeah. You go to a place that just had a lathe or something?
Actually, I just went on UK. I have an artist in the UK that's. I have my own record label. I don't want to talk too much about myself. Sorry. But I have like this record label, and I signed this guy to our label, just like a free promotional service. And he told me about this service that called Cutsy. Shout out to Cutsy, and they cut it and they do it overseas and they ship to the US. So I was like, awesome. There's
Cool.
a service in the U.S., but it's actually more expensive, which makes sense because the U.S. But it just makes sense actually. But it's they don't do covers for the 45s, so you can just make your own. But that's the coolest thing. If you're just buying it for yourself to be on, you're gonna put it up on in a record thing, so that's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must be a lathe where they're actually cutting into the vinyl there, because to do it just a single or just one or two copies of a recording is it's cost prohibitive, because if you're going to press them, you've got to get the metal plates cut, you've got to get it transferred and then have those cut. So it's like you're going to spend $1,000 in setup fees to make the pressing.
And that's why
plate.
bulk buying is more preferred. That makes sense.
Yeah, one record costs you $1,000, but 100 records cost you, $1,100.
Yeah,
it's not.
Nice.
The more you buy, the more you save, but you got to pay the upfront non-recoverable cost.
Yeah.
So it must have been a place that could just cut them as one-offs, which is.
And that's probably why they were like $45.
Yeah,
but it's pricey,
exactly.
yeah.
It's going to take them all day to get set up to do it. So,
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and
Can't
you only
wait,
get
though. It's
one
awesome.
at a time.
And they're shipping us 2 in 5 days. So I wonder how they're doing it. I wonder if they have like 2 presses. It must be like something like, because they say they do it all day, but if it does take. It seems like it would take a while. I've always wondered how that stuff worked. And actually just.
Well, I bet once you get it set up, I think then it takes a few minutes. But,
But imagine doing different orders every time, and like one
Right.
each. It's like, oh, it's gotta suck. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo,
Right.
Tyler, if you got any questions, I don't want to take up all the time here. There's 2 of us here on the show.
Yeah, I think this is the portion where we start talking about the Posies. So,
All right.
Arthur, how did your relationship with the band start?
Ken and I went to University of Washington together, and so I knew him a little bit. He was in a class of mine, and he was his girlfriend lived next door to my girlfriend in the dorms that they were at. So we'd crossed paths a few times and liked each other, and so I knew him from around, and then I think it was probably his girlfriend who mentioned that him and his friend were looking for a band, and Mike and I were old friends. We've known each other since 2nd grade, I think.
Oh, awesome.
And Mike and I were living in a house near the UW, and got a tape of Failure from Ken. And it was obviously they had their shit together more than most anybody else we'd talk to so far.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting at our house and set up in the basement, and Mike and I had always been playing down there, and anyway, I had to borrow a bass from a friend, and we learned some covers. I think we did I think the first thing we ever played was Replacements.
Oh wow.
And
I think John said that in an interview.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Recently. I think it was the one with Magnet magazine.
Actually.
So he remembers it too. Then I think it was the Replacements.
And also, I saw an interview that I mentioned to you about. We were talking about it the other day. You said it was cringeworthy. Is the one with you and Mike on the couch there, and you actually were with the Replacements on tour. So that's
right.
that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So it all comes together
later, but right, it was cool to have it all come full circle.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those Posies interview videos, like not only just that one, but like the news ones, and there was another one that got taken down. It was John and Ken on some show. All those videos were like really golden, and I'm like really glad you uploaded those. So
oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for uploading those too. Yeah, I wanted to say that too.
Yeah, I never did any clearance for the copyright stuff, so I wonder if YouTube is taking it down, or if the company that owned the original tapes takes them down or something.
Yeah, it was a JVTV, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun. So I think that's what happened. It got taken down.
Yeah, the content
for,
ID or something.
Copyright. Yeah.
I actually funny content ID story real quick, since this is all full circle here. I got sued by myself. I had I uploaded my music to a certain site, and my record label's under the music, and I got 5 copyright strikes in my email, and I'm like, oh god, my YouTube's getting taken down. What did I do now? I only posted one Posies. No, I'm just kidding. I only posted one Posies song. What's happening now? But no, I go to them and it's all, this is by behalf of Still River Entertainment, which is my record label. And I'm like, how is this possible? So I put in the dispute thing, I own the record label, and they all just went away. I was
Right.
like,
Well, that's good. At least they listened to that and didn't need like a notarized document from
Yeah,
the
can you
council,
can you give us a doc? Oh crap, we never even did the business part of this. Oops, out of here.
Right.
We don't exist. Yeah, it's crazy.
that occurs to me now. Service providers are working on a record right now, and one of the songs I'm doing is an old Sushirobo one, and
Awesome.
and I just sort of presume I can put that out, but I don't know. Like I wonder if I might have trouble with it because I registered at ASCAP already to put it out again. Like have to get my permission to do it.
That's like a strange thing. It's like you own the song, you wrote it, but all of a sudden, who you're signing with, they own it, and it's like what? That's like the only thing with being big or being on a label, not just being big, but being on a label that a lot of people probably don't realize that you're selling your music to them. You're giving them the rights to take it, and it's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's like it's the only thing you could do to get big sometimes. Yep. So
I'm thinking I might just change the name of the song so that no red flags go off when I release it again, because I don't know how.
And then diehard fans will know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Do keep us in.
Soon they'll come up with some algorithm that just finds the music out there that it'll recognize that I'm
content
covering
ID.
myself,
No,
and it'll automatically sue me. So
like me.
The bots will come
Oops. Aren't we all just robots, right? I read that on your SoundCloud. I love that thing you put for your SoundCloud bio, Arthur.
Oh yeah, I know you guys are all just figments of my imagination or put here to entertain me, but I'll play along. Sure.
There we go.
Yeah, sure.
And is this just a figment of your mind? This never happened. This is just audio of a dream that you're having. I love it. Yeah, I like how when I emailed, like, how'd you find out about that song? And I was like, your SoundCloud. I know these things. Actually, Tyler pointed out.
I had forgotten. I had put stuff up there. I do these things. A while ago, I was sort of digitizing everything, like going through old photos and recordings, and just going, what should I do with it? And starting to put some stuff up, and then I kind of got bored with it, and then I forgot that it was up there. So
that works. It's a new surprise.
That somebody found it.
And now you got young kids wanting to actually know.
Yeah,
it's great.
I actually did not find those songs through SoundCloud. I found them. I found a download of a clip some years back.
Yeah, I know
it's like a really fuzzy, like recording of it. Like it's like not.
Yeah, I think I sent you a picture of that, Arthur. I believe.
Yeah, I think the first time I'd heard it of a boot of it, it was in mono. So it was good. Hopefully they'll put it out in.
I wonder who actually got a hold of that. I've always wondered that because it's such a odd session. Like, I mean, Open Every Window was on a 45, even though it wasn't cut great, and I agree with you on that one because it wobbles. I have the 45 for that one; it just wobbles. But how did somebody get a hold? Because I know on one of the broadcasts there's the Neil Young cover for the name of the song, but I love that song too. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Dance.
Yeah.
You can really love.
Yeah,
yes.
I love that song, and I love Neil Young. I'm a huge Young fan, so I don't know why I didn't. Neil's gonna look down at me. He's gonna find this podcast one day. He'd be like, I don't even want to talk to this kid. You don't know my songs. But actually, I had to laugh at that. But I found the session of them. I found it on another a Spanish forum of all places. I actually got all of Mudhoney's records from this forum.
Right.
All this weird stuff from. I got Mudhoney. I was looking for I'm looking for your bands on there because that's possibly where you would find it. You wouldn't find any because you look them up and there's nothing there. So I was just trying to get some audio to hear one song, On your SoundCloud, I think you posted some of the Peach stuff too, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably, but I think I was putting up stuff that wasn't commercially available. So Peach had another album's worth of stuff we'd recorded and just never did anything with, and stuff we never put out as singles and goofing around in the studio kind of thing. So I think I put up some of those things in there, and it was really more just sort of to test the waters. I figured one of these days I'll put up everything I've ever done up there. And
awesome, and I'll be stalking you.
And I got a little tired of it, but I'd be happy to send you the Peach CDs. I think I have
that would be awesome.
20,000 of them around here.
Oh, that would be awesome for both of us.
You can
definitely for both of us.
You can send
not just me, Tyler too.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I was gonna say you can send him the Peach CDs, and Jebb can he can download them and send me the MP3s to them.
Hey, don't say that.
Yeah, great.
Don't say that out loud. I don't music share.
I mean, if that'd be easier for you, I could just I've already got. I don't think I have MP3s, but I think I saved them to my hard drive. So
Right.
if you'd
Awesome.
rather have the files,
I'd actually, if you want to
but-
do a physical, and I'll take it. I like
sure,
collection. I
yeah,
collect.
yeah. Send me the
If
address.
you got,
and
you got the
I'll
vinyl.
right.
I'm just kidding.
The
If you got the
vinyl I'm out
vinyl,
of.
I'd buy it.
It does show up every once in a while. I always kind of
Awesome.
look in record stores to see if I
Yeah.
see it.
I have
Well,
to-
you know, if
Well,
nobody's
now that I'll get the
into it, I
CDs,
may
I'll actually be
buy
able
it
to see
up,
the CD
put it
cover.
away.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
But
Also, here's another question.
There we
I
go.
remember Ken saying in his interview with Jebb a while back that you were responsible for the art direction of Dear 23,
that's
right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
but it's not, it's not that much to brag about. The guy behind it, I just kind of got the people together for it, to talented enough people, gave them some concepts to go on, and then they did it. But really, it was there's a guy out here named Dennis White who he's a good writer as well as had done graphics and run a label. Well, he was in California at the time, but he's a Seattleite, kind of old school Seattle punk rocker.
Sweet.
And
Awesome.
he his lover had died at the time, and he had inherited a bunch of like kind of crazy theatrical stuff.
Oh, wow.
So
like the throne room there.
yeah, exactly. Like those were all like props that his
cool.
ex had collected. His ex was Charles Garish, who was kind of a glam rock institution in Seattle in the 70s and 80s, and Charles had saved up just kind of a crazy collection of strange, sort of voodoo art and crazy gothic looking pieces and such. So anyway, Dennis had this amazing, storage bin filled with stuff. So so we had him set for it, like the throne room idea.
So
actually-
it was like an actual picture, not a painting.
Yeah, the
Wow.
quality of the film makes it look like a painting, but
It looks.
photographer
it looks
was,
hand-drawn to me. It looks.
yeah.
up. I need
Well, I
to
think we
grab
lit it
yeah.
with candlelight, and
That's so cool.
the photographer did a really long exposure photo of it. Karen Moskowitz
Wow.
was her name. She was a great.
That's something I didn't know. Yeah, we learned something
Oh, that's
new.
incredible! I never knew that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
she did all the photography. He did the set design. Our manager at the time, Terry Morgan, had some great pieces he added to it, like the skull on a stick. Like a staff there was a thing he had, and it ended up coming out much more goth than the band really was.
Yeah.
But that's,
Yeah, that was kind of John and Ken's aesthetic. Like when you met them, sort of like they had like the hair and everything.
Back when they were on
Yeah,
the
but,
Failure, they looked like
they
the
were
Cure.
like the goth Rosencrantz
Yeah.
and Guildenstern or something.
No, I remember seeing a video.
So- Yeah, they were.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They had a sense of humor. They were not, morbid, dour goths.
Was it the My Big Mouth music video that references the throne room and them playing the Dan Electros?
Oh
and
no, that was
stuff?
Golden Blunders.
It was Golden Blunders. Okay. Trying to
Yeah,
remember.
Yeah, we the props in that, and we actually, I think when the set was up to do the album shoot, we used it to film a couple of, lip sync jams in there for
Awesome.
video purposes.
I know.
Weren't you guys supposed to do a music video for Suddenly Mary?
Yeah, I heard about that too. Somewhere. I forget.
I think it was intended to be the next single on the record, and just it never became a single as such. So there
wow.
wasn't. We didn't have the.
Does any other way have a video? I've always looked at that. Is that like an actual video or is that like a fan
I
made?
think the only one that we ever did a real video for was Golden Blunders.
My Big Mouth with the Office one too, or no? Was that Golden Blunders? That was Golden Blunders. I keep getting the two confused.
That was Golden Blunders.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I don't know. Maybe I just love My Big Mouth because of the bass. No, I'm just fanboying.
Personally, and this has nothing to do with the last name, but I'm sort of more of a Mrs. Green kind of guy. So
I like the. You know what I like about that? I don't know, Arthur. You could tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like that was a '60s thing to do, to have like the name of someone in an album, like
Yeah,
Mrs. Robinson and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That's what I
totally.
always thought because you guys had a '60s feel in the '90s,
Yep.
which is cool.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah, that
reminds
was that
me of,
whole-
"Happy Together" by the Turtles too.
Oh, cool! I love that song. Huge
Think
Zappa
of that.
fan over here.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that that's a very twee British thing to do. I think to have your song named after
like Eleanor,
Miss Honey, Mrs. Green.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
like,
one of the first things.
Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter.
Yes.
One of the first things John said to me when he got to the door and he settled down was like, so I was doing the liner notes for the Dear 23 reissues, and I realized Mrs. Green, Tyler Green. Holy shit.
Oh, why?
And
what are the odds?
What are the... Whoa.
And he sent me a Dynamo Royale CD, which was autographed by him and his wife, and the inscription in it was, Tyler Green, huh? Any relation to Mrs. Green? So
that's funny.
And it's funny. That's actually one of my favorite songs off of Dear 23, ironically enough.
Yeah.
So
my favorite song off Dear 23 is I'm sorry.
So speaking of Dear 23, what was it like recording the album and working with John Leckie?
Oh yeah, John Leckie too. Yeah.
Well, that was pretty exciting in that he'd recorded a lot of records that I already owned, so it was a thrill to have him there and sort of hope to achieve those great heights. And then it didn't quite work out for us that way, but working with him was great. He's a very mellow guy. He's very British, and he was good. I think his presence kind of spooked John Auer a bit in that John had his own idea about how the record would sound. John was kind of the musical driver of the band and had a lot of studio experience already, and I think having to sort of cede that control to John Leckie was a little not necessarily hard for John in that he had great respect for John Leckie, but I think when you see somebody else taking it in a way you wouldn't have done it, and it isn't necessarily improving on the idea, it was I think a little hard for him to do that, but he didn't feel like it was his place to advocate for a different sound. So I'm projecting a bit there, but I think they had some misgivings about that. But John Leckie, he wasn't a heavy-handed guy. He just had a really different vision of how things would sound, and it was kind of stunning to hear how much reverb and chorus he would put on things. I
remember Ken saying, like, if there was one thing that he could change about Dear 23, he wanted like less digital reverb. So fortunately, that really dates the record, I think, to sounding like an 80s record. And the thing was, we played it all on great, like vintage instruments and amps in this room that had a nice, warm, live sound to it.
That's awesome.
We did a lot of the tracking for the basics, was all four of us playing live together in that room.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Really natural sound to it, but when you hear it back and it sounds like it's in the digital cathedral, it's a little surprising. And just right away, like when the first song begins, that guitar sounds so processed to me, and that's not what it sounded like at the time. Yeah.
I wonder if the masters will change that. I wonder if
I hope so.
I hope we get blown away.
I don't think it was. God, it was a. I'm trying to remember who mastered it. We had a big name guy do it. It was like, not
yeah,
Bob
because
Ezrin,
Ken, I was texting Ken, messaging him on Facebook, and I said, I said I already have, because I was thinking about just getting Frosting on the Beater and Amazing Disgrace, since I already have Dear 23. I have an original German pressing. And he was like, no, you're going to want to get this. And I'm like, oh, he's just trying to... No, I was laughing. He goes, no, it's actually way better than what you have. And it's the original masters. And I'm like, oh, that's got to be awesome. That's going to... Because that's my favorite album. That's actually my dad's... Both of ours, that's how we became... My dad became a fan of the Posies because... Posies, because of that. And then he passed it to me. And then I really... Right now, though, it's the funniest thing is I used to not really like Amazing Disgrace. Now it is my favorite record. It's weird.
Right,
I went through a change. I was like, this record is so raw and emotional. And I'm like, I need to listen to it more. And it's just like a broken record. JK, LOL, just references.
Broken record.
But looking at who John Leckie was working with, and I see Paul McCartney, the Stone Roses, and a lot of other big Radiohead.
I didn't know about Paul McCartney, but
up here.
This was pre-Radiohead. He had just come off of doing the first Stone Roses record, and actually it's kind of an issue is that the success of the Stone Roses basically happened while we were approaching him, and his rates, went up accordingly because he was suddenly the hot name to have, because their record just exploded in England the time we were talking to him. But he had done a lot of 80s records mostly that we were into. Like, I really liked The Fall, and he had recorded a couple of my favorite Fall records, as well as he did the first 2 XTC albums,
which I know John and Ken are huge fans of. I learned about that.
Well, he also did then later on the Dukes of Stratosphere record with XTC, which was great. Like, we all loved that, and kind of were hoping for some of that like very analog, organic, psychedelic touch to it, that was a great sounding EP, especially, but that album too.
There's another album that he did. It's one of the later albums, more recent. It was released in 2010 that he produced, called Butterfly House by the Coral, if you've ever heard of them.
No, that's cool. I know he still works all the time, and he actually got to start. I think the first thing his name appears on is Metal by Pink Floyd, which is a great sounding record.
He's on there? That's where I heard about that.
I did hear about that. It's on there.
He also did.
He started off as Wikipedia says he started off as a tape operator for
George Harrison. All things must pass.
For
the
Apple.
same. Oh, there's Metal. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, because I love that's one of my favorite records of all time is Metal. Underrated. Like, a lot of people that think Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. It's like, no, go earlier. Please go earlier. And later too.
Yeah.
Animals is fantastic too. But
but Butterfly House by the Coral has like this really great like 60s aesthetic to it. Like, I highly recommend it. Like, especially
we'll have to talk about it on the show.
The album, so check it. Yeah, we'll definitely cover it.
There you go. That's interesting that like XTC, because I know he's on one of my favorite records that's underrated, Bebop Deluxe. I'm never sure if you heard of them.
Yeah.
I actually just picked up Live in the Air Age at a record store for $2, and I was like, my drummer's dad had them. It's funny, you think like back in the day, people got inspired by records. My drummer's dad just turned me on to 3 new bands. I'm knee deep in the records, and it's kind of cool that he was like, you should listen to these. I love King Crimson, I love Frank Zappa, all that stuff. And he goes, you're gonna really like these guys. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is awesome. Just nice instrumentals, and they kind of sound like Wetton, John Wetton a little bit. So I enjoy that. Yeah, I definitely because they're actually produced by him too, which I didn't realize. That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, he did a lot of that. God, there's so many Bebop Deluxe records. It's
you hard to find them. Like, you find them.
I don't know. I seem to run into it quite a bit.
All right, maybe I'll have to look now that I know.
Ones you're looking for, because they seem like I always find them in like the dollar bin or something. Because a lot of people just don't know how.
Other than Live in the Air Age, because it's the only one I got, but I just like them.
Oh really?
Yeah, I only got one. I'll keep texting you
then. Bill Nelson made hundreds of records too. It seems on his own after that too.
Cool.
And a lot of good stuff there as well. He went in more of a new wave kind of direction, which less on the long guitar solos and kind of proggy changes and such. Little less rock and more kind of new wave pop. But it was kind
of like a Genesis sound, or kind of like that.
Or it's like you wouldn't feel it was out of place on an XTC record.
So XTC is perfect. I actually just bought an XTC record. Probably spent a little too much on it, but it wasn't too bad. I got it for like $15, I think. So it wasn't too bad. It was the one with the Black Sea, XTC Black Sea, I think it's called. I love that album.
Yeah, I think it's great. And English Settlement are their best.
That's all. I'll definitely look into it, because I just got into them because my dad knew who they were, but he wasn't really big. I'm actually just got really big into new wave. Not just because I finally got the chance to listen to Failure by the Posies and was like, I should do this, but I actually really got into new wave because of I like the Thompson Twins. I like the stuff that people didn't want to admit they liked back then, because it was like, that's to that, and I'm like, I actually enjoy it. Like, I really like Flock of Seagulls, like one of my favorites.
Right.
Stuff like that. But yeah,
I'm actually sort of I don't think you guys know who he is, but I'm sort of like a big Nick Kershaw fan.
Oh yeah, wouldn't it be
good to be? He went from being like an '80s pop sensation to like a singer-songwriter kind of guy, and his stuff is like really good.
I'll have to look that
up. He's done like acoustic albums and stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of all what we just talked about, and now look at this. John Leckie produced "Hold Your Head Up" single for Argent, and we were just talking about that. We were just talking about that because I'm a huge Jellyfish fan, and so is Tyler here, who got me into Jellyfish, and they do an awesome cover of that on their Live at Bogart's And it was like, I didn't know the original. My dad's like, you don't know the original song and you know everything, and I'm like, oh no.
And
But, yeah.
and there's a picture of Arthur, I believe, hanging out with John and Andy Sturmer of Jellyfish.
Oh, is there a picture of you?
I did meet them.
Oh.
Yeah, in
I think that was the
we're in
picture.
San Francisco. Crossed paths with them a few times. We played some shows with them, I think.
Awesome. I know John
Yeah.
was in a picture with them. I'm not sure if that's you. So wait, did the Posies, or you're saying with you on your own, or?
No, when I was in
Oh,
the
cool.
Posies,
That's awesome.
we played a couple of things, like I think like kind of festival shows with them. But
That's cool.
but yeah, we met them a couple of times. Conventions, and I think they came to see us in San Francisco once. So
That's cool.
um,
Look out in the crowd, and there's just Andy. He's sitting. He's not standing for once. Whoa. But yeah,
I'm
so much
probably
fun.
gonna have to ask one day because I'm friends with Andy Sturmer's daughter. Actually,
Oh.
we both are.
Yeah, Chloe.
He's doing good.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of these days I'm gonna ask her. I'm like, hey, does your dad like
Do
drum sitting
interviews?
down, or does he like play standing up all the time, like boom, bah, like?
Have we found him sitting down yet? We have to find the rare photo. It's like it's a hidden gem of the. You find this photo, it's worth millions of dollars. It's just Andy sitting on a couch. It doesn't even matter what he's doing. It's just he's sitting. Oh my god.
not know he drummed standing up. I
Yeah.
guess, or if I
Yeah.
I forgot about it.
Yeah, he was like he was like a Phil Collins, but he was in the front. He was in the front. He was singing and drumming standing up, which was interesting. You don't see that a lot. But they had
It was
definitely
really
a
cool
60s
gimmick.
sound
Yeah.
in the 90s, though. Really like Jellyfish. And that's actually just a really cool tie, and that's cool that you guys actually got to play with them. That's awesome.
I can't say I remember it well, honestly, but
So much
we
stuff
were on
happens.
bills with them, you know.
That's cool. Yeah, you see the
Yeah.
name, you're like, oh yeah, those guys. They're actually bigger now. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they go on to be Beck's band or
I
something
think
to do with
Roger Manning and Jason Faulkner.
joined with Beck, and I think
Yeah.
Andy. I don't know. I don't want to speculate because one day this show might become very popular in the music world. You never know. And I think Andy just stopped. I know he makes stuff for Cartoon Network now. I know that.
He does, yeah. He does.
Those sound pretty cool too. Like I'm watching a kids show just to hear him.
He did some stuff for a Scooby Doo show, which is really good.
Yeah, and it's still him, so that's good. I like his voice. I know he did some solo stuff too, which I found out about later on. And
Yeah,
I think,
Chloe told me he's doing well, but that's
yeah,
kind of.
he's very like doesn't talk to anybody, which I guess I think something happened. That's what I'm aware, but because I first thing I was like to Chloe, I was like, hey, you want to have him on the show? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. But I'm glad to have you on, Arthur. Definitely a surprise.
Yeah,
I love having
it's
guests on
like-
like this, so that's fun.
Well,
We're not
thank
done
you.
yet, but.
No, definitely not. Unless you have to go, Arthur. I don't
Okay, well that's a wrap. All right.
All right, bye everybody. And we never talk again.
All right, so
It was just for the show.
So Jebb, do you have any questions?
Actually, we talked about Peach. We didn't talk about Sushirobo yet. So how about
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
I want to hear about that.
Sushirobo was a lot of fun. That was a band I was in 2000 through 2004, I think, and that was a drummer. In the late 90s, I had a rental house and it had a big basement in it. There were some other musicians there, and we kind of set up just a jam situation that we were on. Once a week or so, people could come out and we'd record it and just listen back to what we did. And we always had the intention to start a band, and it didn't take off as fast as we would have liked, but out of that I met a great drummer, Barry Shaw, who I ended up taking into the studio to just do some songs that I'd written that had no I had no intention of doing anything with them. I just wanted to record them for posterity and possibly something later. So Barry learned the songs, and I asked the bass player that he was playing with to come and join us, and we had a really good loose time in the studio. Just like a 2-day thing. Did 6 songs, and it was a lot of fun. I was very into analog guitar effects pedals at the time, and just put on a lot of like ear candy noises on it, kind of
Yeah.
to be like before there was Radiohead, at least that I was aware of. It was very Radiohead like, but with a sense of humor about it, I'd say. So yeah, we cut enough songs to do an EP, and I never thought to do anything with it except the bass player then was looking to start a record label. He had some money he wanted to put behind some bands, and he asked if I'd want to put it out on his label. And that implied then that there would need to be a band playing some shows. And so I thought, yeah,
Awesome.
let's do it. So it was an unintentional band. And we ended up adding a second guitar player who was a brilliant player named Dave Einmo. And we ran for about 4 years there, did 2 records and an EP. And for me, it was without a doubt just the most fun I'd ever had playing music and creating music with people. It wasn't, we worked in kind of the format of the band Can, the German prog rock band Can, where
they're awesome.
go in, jam ideas, and then try and cut and paste those into songs later, or go back and relearn the parts that that we jammed on and shape it up that way. So the feeling was much more spontaneous than having a singer-songwriter bring in a demo that they've recorded saying, I'd like you to learn these songs, do it the way I'm telling you to do it.
Yeah.
Instead, all just really organic. And I felt really free, like I wasn't I wasn't writing to say anything important, but could just kind of be stream of consciousness, and out of it, I think some of my best song ideas came out of it. So
that's awesome. I have to listen to this now. Actually, don't have. I was trying to look for some of that stuff too, and I don't know if I could find it. I'll have to see again, definitely, because I definitely want to hear this now.
if you like things like sort of early, what you'd call it like post-punk, I guess, but it had a real bent. So bands like Devo or Wire that the choruses, but they still have kind of sharp edges and high energy to the songs. And
awesome.
Anyway, it was like sometimes it was psychedelic and droney, and other times very upbeat, like tight little 2-minute songs and high energy. So I had a lot of fun. That's without a doubt the thing I've been most proud about having done.
Oh, awesome!
Awesome.
That's pretty cool, because that's something you get caught on for the other stuff, and then something like that. Especially when you find something that you love doing, definitely really cool. Because I know, like with my band, we recorded a couple EPs because we just have the angst of recording, and that's what it is. But there's times where we'll jam the whole, like we New Year's Day, it was just me and my drummer. Our bass player is like in and out sometimes, but me and my drummer, we're just sitting there and we're just playing. We played for like straight 7 hours. And like we were about to faint. Stupidity, but it was fun. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Actually,
well, so next question, because we wanted to talk about the Eclipse sessions.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Do you want to take this, Jebb?
Yeah, I could take this if you want. I just have to pull up the album so I can look at the songs on it, because I have it.
Yeah.
Just give me a couple seconds. I gotta. So, how's everybody's day? This is fun. This is like
how you doing?
It's the most natural.
Yeah, mainly what we're curious about is
just
how it came to be, how it fell apart, and
so this
your contributions to it.
Is this the in between Dear 23 and Frosting on the Beat, so this would? You're not Arthur? You're not on Frosting on the Beat, right? That's Dave Fox.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Dave, and some of the songs from the sessions we did ended up on there, but re-recorded versions.
And I know Success had some of those songs too, like Farewell Typewriter and stuff like that.
Right.
Oh, here's I have it. All right. Yep. It starts off with the When You Can Dance, I Can Really Love, then Open Every Window, My Lonely Friend, This One's Taken, Farewell Typewriter, As Good As You, Grow, Going, Going, Gone, 21, Soul and Waistcoat, which was Definite Door, Magnifying Mirror, and Joy Pulls Us Down, which Joy has never been re-released. And the ones that you wrote never been. Did you write any of the other ones on here, or just those two? Actually, that's a good start off.
I did Lonely Friend, As Good As Yours, and Joy Pulls Us Down.
Okay, that's the 3 that I like. Fanboy.
And did you sing on them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not on Lonely Friend. John's singing the lead. I couldn't play it and sing it live.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a fast bass part, and I couldn't do it without sort of killing the energy of the song. So John sang it and sang the backups on it. But the other ones I sang the lead on.
Yeah, there's a video of you guys playing that song, actually.
Really?
Yes.
it's
Cattle
the
Club.
Cattle Club.
Yep. I found that on YouTube. It's the
Right.
whole.
Yeah.
whole thing.
I know what you're talking about. Cattle
I
Club
found
in,
the song.
Sacramento.
I found the song and I text Ken. I said, Ken, I found a song I don't know. And he goes, which one's that? And I'm like, My Lonely Friend. And he goes, Arthur. And I was like, okay. But yeah, he told me. And then that's when I got in contact. That's actually when I added you because I was like, oh, he's on Facebook. I can add him and maybe get him on the podcast and hope. And now look who we are. But yeah, this is I mean, as good as you as you see on this one, it's as good as yours, right?
Right.
So yeah, this somebody was lazy here when they put it up here. But actually, I think if I'm not mistaken, the song 21, Soul and Waistcoat, Magnifying Mirror, those ones actually made it onto the box set that they have live at.
In amazing quality, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard those yet. The box set that's so
I have
rare.
the box set.
Oh, now I'm jealous.
Pulled it out in
It's awesome.
I don't know, a dozen years or so. When did it come out?
Oh, long. I think it was like
yeah.
19. I forget. My uncle sent me like a copy of the CDs.
Yeah.
And like a copy of the pamphlet. Actually, I have a picture from the box set, but I don't think you're in it. I think it's Dave Fox. It's a picture of John with his hair down with the yellow Gibson. So I don't know if it's like a really cool picture. And I put that on my wall.
I know it.
I'll show you the picture after. Definitely send it to you. But yeah, like some of those made it to the box set. And even Soul and Waistcoat made it to the... I just love how it's Definite Door. They like changed it a little bit.
Yeah.
But then you got Grow, Farewell Typewriter, and Will You Ever Use Your Mind that were on other albums as well. So it looks like they used a lot, but I wish they kind of used your songs. I do. Out of everything I've like, this one's. I would have loved to have heard My Lonely Friend. It's actually, I even contacted you to cover it with my band to have it covered, and we're working on it now. Actually, I finally got the guitar part down, but my bass player might have a lot of tough time now that I hear that it's a tougher song. And I'm like, oh god,
it might behoove the arrangement if the bass wasn't so fast.
Yes,
you know?
so we'll have to work on that.
Looking back, it seems a bit busy to me.
Yeah,
it's amazing that someone who originally didn't play bass going into this band played like a really complex bass part for that song.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, here's a hint.
All right.
The bass and guitar.
Oh yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. They just tune them.
Dun dun dun.
Tip.
Yeah. So if you're really good at guitar, you would know bass. That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And I was a pretty jammy guitar player, so the bass parts are it's basically a guy playing lead guitar on the bass, which is probably not very appropriate for a lot of the songs. So.
It's just Arthur again. He's playing bass again. Damn it.
Yeah. Overdoing it.
Yeah, it was good though. Overcooked bass. Oh, that'd be a good band name. But like, then your bass player would have to be Overcooked though. You can't lie. You know. It's like.
So would that mean the guitarist would be medium well or well done?
And then the drummer and the singer would be the buns.
Guitarists are never done.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. I'm a guitarist myself. I got a Gibson SG too. Not copying anybody. I have an SGJ. It's an anniversary, like 125. It's the 125th anniversary, I think. And then now it's signed by John and Ken. But John signed it really big, so I told Ken to send next to Hancock over there. So that was that. I was like, I just need you. Can you come and sign my guitar? Oh yeah, true. Just get every SG player to sign my guitar here. That'd be sweet. The other guitar would be worth a lot, but I wouldn't sell it because it's personal, you know. It's personal. Definitely. And actually, Joy Pulls Us Down is another one too that I've never heard until before the session. So so when you wrote the lyrics, were they just out of just writing on the cuff moment, or are these songs that you already wrote before, or are these kind of like?
It's hard to remember. I mean, I don't think anything was particularly spontaneous because I really labored over lots of stuff then. So they're probably kind of all overdrafted. I remember doing lots of demos, as was the Posey way at the time. Nobody could ever leave anything alone. They would, just keep demoing and demoing until they're suffocating the song with too many ideas. So I think I'd overdone it at that time. So it was probably my fifth draft of the lyrics or something like that. But I don't really recall. And to be honest, I'm not that proud of Joy Pulls Us Down. So it's just as well that it's not out there in the public sphere.
Lonely Friend is a lot, and as good as yours is probably the best too from that of yours. From that, I just like hearing different stuff.
I liked As Good As Yours. I thought that
Yeah.
seemed most appropriate to the
And
Posies.
that one fit the Posies a lot. The only Friend kind of like was the Posies that never was, because like the Posies could have been grunge easily, but they weren't. They were like their own special kind of thing, and it just made them. I think that you guys, Dear 23 really, you guys were different when they came out.
Yeah.
I've told Ken this too. Is like you guys were very different. Everybody else was doing what Nirvana wanted, but Nirvana was later. But it was all that. Was that the same time? Was Dear 23? Were they out by then? Mudhoney and all them?
Mine came out in 91, so Dear 23 was a year or two before. I think.
Yeah, but Seattle started to turn because of that, and then Amazing Disgrace comes out with a little bit of the the oomph, and it's Frosting on the Beater too. But you guys still, even with the Posies too later on, they were all still different, and it's cool to listen to something
that wasn't really where their background was from. They were pop guys.
Yeah.
So of course it was going to stand out. And the at the time, when they did Failure and then Dear 23, they were still so young. It's like they hadn't been exposed to much of the rock that was around Seattle anyway. A lot of that was you could only have access to it if you were 21 or older.
Were you with them when they did like this Failure house? There's a couple of YouTube videos where they're doing the house tour for Failure. They do like pictures of Lily and stuff. And there's
I'm playing.
Are you with them? Because I saw a signed picture. I looked up your name to try to get. That's where I found that picture that I did for the thumbnail that everybody will see now. When you click on the video, that is actually from a Posies picture. But I was trying to look up pictures of you, couldn't find anything except that signed photo, and I was like, oh, you were with them. So it was after Failure was recorded. It was just they needed someone.
Recorded Failure, just the two of them. But yeah, we were me and Mike were the first full band iteration of it.
Awesome.
They'd recorded the Failure and were treating it as a demo essentially, and hadn't thought to make it an album as such. And we're looking to get a band together, and they'd done like maybe 10 or less kind of coffee house gigs, just the two of them. So
awesome.
I had not heard from so I didn't know they were playing. I just knew Ken from school.
Oh, cool. I know the cassette there from them. I was trying to get a copy of it, but it's like I'm not spending $130. I'm good. Those a lot of those rare stuff, the self-releases, they're really hard to find. And then you got to look at it like Frosting on the Beater is really expensive for an original pressing. It's like up to $200. It's like, geez.
Yeah. Well, a lot of '90s stuff didn't get put out on vinyl, or if it did, it was really small runs because they were putting so much more into CD production at the time.
I actually have a 2000s. Like I just bought. I don't know if you ever heard of the band the Waxwings. I actually.
I'm not sure I know him.
The Queens of the Stone Age keyboard player. I don't know if you know Queens of the Stone Age, but the keyboard player was originally the singer of this band. And it's like a '60s band in 2000s. And I bought 2 of their 45s. There's only like 3 totally made, but these are records being made in the 2000s. And one of their first album, which is like 2002, is on vinyl. My dad has it sealed. I'm like, could I have it, please? But no, I'm not gonna open it. It's like one of those things. I'm actually gonna try to buy one because Discogs you can get some good stuff. But no, it's just interesting because like you said, like not a lot of things were pressed in the 90s. They weren't meant to be. There was kind of CDs and compact discs, and that's the same exact thing I just said twice.
The move was going there, but try and find a PJ Harvey album from early 90s, and you'll pay hundreds.
It's crazy. Yeah, like especially, and then you got the hype of like certain bands like Nirvana and stuff like that, where it's like now the records are untouchable, and then you got stuff like from the Posies, like Amazing Disgrace is like $50, which isn't too bad if you want to get a copy. It's like it's an original. Stuff like that. But then you got Frosting on the Beater, which I guess was their hit record, if I'm not mistaken. I thought to me it was Dear 23, but I could be wrong. I thought
Frosting definitely was the one that got him airplay. Yeah.
Because I see like Dear 23 to this day is just the whole album as a whole is just a fantastic album, and it ends great with that Flood of Sunshine, which I found out for people that wondering from this. Ken wrote that when he was in high school with a band. I was told.
The General Defects?
The General Defects, yeah. I guess he wrote
something like that.
I think it was that's
I think it was either General or Genetic.
It's the Genetic Defects, which is a great band name. Thanks, Ken, for a good band name there. Because how was it playing Flood of Sunshine? Now, that's a good question.
That was a song that really evolved live. I mean,
awesome.
I gather that I knew he'd had it around since he was younger, but I think it was more just kind of a sketch of a song, not really fleshed out. And so playing it live was how it turned into turn from a 2-minute thing into a 10-minute thing.
Yeah.
Doing that solo that we'd kind of not really fade it out, but go heavy, then take it back, and then go heavy again.
Yeah, it has like a false ending, and then goes right back in again, and it's like that's sweet. And that's John and you, right? With the
did you
definitely? Oh no, go ahead.
Jebb.
Go ahead, Tyler. I was talking too much.
Yeah, but when you guys were recording that song, did you guys like play around with like improvisation? Like, did you mainly just like mess around with the length of the song or how long John could play
that one
solo?
In particular, yeah, we did it. We tracked it as all four of us doing rhythm parts. Like, I don't think John played a lead as we tracked. I mean, I know that the lead that went down in the end was an overdub, but okay. I think as we were tracking it, I believe he played. I think he played electric and Ken tracked an acoustic on it, maybe in a booth. But it was all four of us. Oh no, Ken was playing keyboards. So we tracked it all at once, all of us together, and I mean, to say that it's improv makes it sound like we think we're playing jazz or something, but really, same
fair enough.
Over again. But yeah, it's just we'd been playing it live for a while, so we had a sense of what to do with it. But I think maybe that sort of 2 waves of it, take it up and then down and then up again. I think maybe that happened in the studio. It's hard to remember if we were
I
doing
thought it was improv too. Just backing up Tyler. I thought it was improv. No, that's really cool that they have because that's something like that song could be just like you guys one day just hit it. It was like, yeah, we're doing this kind of feeling to it. Like, you got to do this. And I mean, the whole so actually there's one song I forget about on Dear 23. It's funny, go back to earlier is Mrs. Green because I'm like, I'm listening to the whole album. Like, I list all these songs. I'm like, oh wait, that song's on there too, which is a fantastic song too. And I love the whole 60s feel in the 90s kind of thing because you're like going back. And then, like you said, you guys are playing the vintage guitars, the vintage amps. That's where the sound is coming from. And were you on? I have a quick question for you. Were you with the band still when they did the Feel and I Am the Cosmos 45 or no?
Yeah.
Oh, that you're on that? Awesome. Because I have that. I just bought that. I actually have it. I have the clear version of it because there's so many different versions of it. It's very hard to get. I love the instrumentation on Feel and of course Ken's voice. Yeah, and then I Am the Cosmos. Actually, John said to me that was his best song he ever recorded. He said he loves the vocals on this. So yeah. I love that. I love that record.
Really fits him, I think.
Yeah.
And you were on the Small Faces cover, weren't you? Song for a Baker.
No, we played it live, but I never recorded it with him.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow, okay. So that was must have been after then.
Yeah.
So going back to Eclipse real quick for a second, were John and Ken ever really comfortable with you writing songs for them? Were they always down with it or?
Not at all. That was basically our big problem from the beginning was I didn't really want to play bass and I wanted to write songs and obviously they were leaps ahead of me when we got together, but that didn't mean I didn't that I didn't still want to. And I think so that record, I mean, they were finally coming around to playing some of my stuff, and it was I could tell they were not comfortable with it at all, and they were just we were young, and I think everybody was too passive aggressive to say what was really on their mind, but they were not encouraging of it, and that kind of spoke volumes, I think, but. My feeling at the time was I'm going to do this anyway, and I mean that led to me being kicked out. So that's that was the issue, I wanted to roll in that band, and they were not comfortable ceding any control.
And it's interesting because a lot of times bands, that's what happens is the creative direction goes different ways. And I know, for reference of my first band, my drummer was a metalhead, which I love heavy metal too, but we're trying to do alternative, and he's slamming on the double bass pedals, which would be interesting. But so we went our separate ways as well, in a lower scale, of course. But it stinks when both want to write. You want to write as much as you can, and then both directions are coming. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like.
I never thought of it as conflicting directions, and I mean certainly.
Okay. Sorry,
we were, trying to I did feel like I was trying to make it fit in with what they were doing, which maybe made it a bit contrived, but I didn't think it really hurt things that much. But no, I think it was more just, they were young when they first started recording, so they were very used to doing things entirely themselves and having it necessary to have two other people there and trust those people to touch your creation. I think was really difficult for them. They would never get together like every other band in the world does, where you just get together and like say, hey, here's a song I wrote, and play it on the guitar in front of you. They always would hand me a tape that already had drums and bass on it. And,
you had to learn from the tape. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to, but I mean, what's the point? If I don't do it the way they want it, then I'm being intentionally obstinate, So it did feel like I was being told what to do, and it felt like I was not trusted to, like they couldn't let go enough to let anyone else add any color to it,
like any creative direction for the song to add to it. Yeah,
exactly. And so, right, for me wanting to write and not being interested in playing bass, that was frustrating. So. I'm sure I was a jerk about it, and they were certainly afraid to speak their minds about it, and it was always a problem.
It's just interesting to see because you listen to the music, and there's a lot of story behind everything that comes out. It's produced, and a lot of times the music's always there, and people, me and Tyler discover it younger age and come back and to be able to talk with you guys to interest the artists and everything, and definitely gives you guys a chance to get your story out too, which is awesome. And just definitely glad to have you here on the show. Means more to us, I think, than anything to have just someone. You can't get in touch with these artists anymore, and it was awesome that Ken came on the show too, and John's gonna be on the show in the future as well. He promised.
Well, I think they're very thankful to still be doing what they do. So
they're really great guys, despite everything that's happened in the past.
I think
they've always been great about being genuine with people who are into the
which
music.
Which is really awesome. It's something that you don't expect.
Stuck up about talking to people, whether they're fans or peers or whatever. They've made themselves pretty accessible, which I think that's great.
They have been huge inspirations to both me and Jebb. And
that's how we met, actually, which is really cool. That's actually how this podcast was created because of my Ken interview.
I'm thankful for what they've done for the both of us. So.
And I'm glad to have another side of the story too, because it's just stuff that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Still on the show here, but stuff that you don't always get the other side. You always get just the front and just awesome time. And Arthur, I'm glad we could talk about your music as a whole too, because I'm really interested in Peach now.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Really interested in
and
Peach
we're not doing this to make anybody
look bad either. No. We were worried about that. This is a little bit before the show. We're like, oh no.
You did get the letter from my lawyer, right?
Final
rights to the edit for this.
That's right.
That's why we were worried. We were shaking. Yeah, we got it. We're gonna have to sign off now. You're gonna have to send it to two different places.
As soon as I'm done editing this, then you can have your tapes back.
Yeah. All right. He'll edit the whole part out of our good stuff. All right.
And before we go, I do want to ask one more thing.
Shoot.
About the expo stuff. When do you think we can?
Oh yeah, I want to know that too.
Look on Facebook for the service providers. If you're friends with Mike or Dave, they'll have it on their page too. And did I say Facebook? Look on Facebook.
Facebook.
For it. And we'll post about it then. We post whenever we're playing gigs.
Awesome.
So at the moment the record is being mixed. I'm hoping this week here we're working with Eric Corson, who's in the band The Long. Is a great studio guy out here, and he's doing the mixes as we speak. So
awesome.
We have that out very soon.
Awesome. And I'll send you my email address for those CDs there. I'm definitely interested. Love to have some cool stuff. And I just looked up on Facebook. So definitely.
And by the way, it's not your email address. It's your physical address.
Yes. Why did I say email address? Oh my god. I think it's because I'm in starstruck mode right now.
Well, a lot of people act like that around me.
Yes. That's why I said it.
For me, it's a mix of starstruck and anxiety. So
yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah,
I just really like how this came out.
Terror.
Yeah, I'm terrified of you. You're only on this
Oh
show
my
because
God,
you
this
scare me.
Because
Who's
I am.
better than me
We can all
talking to me
smell
right
fear.
now?
Oh no! All right, I found your thing. It's you guys in red thing here.
That is it. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Everybody loves floating head
clothes here.
art. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's floating.
Stick,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
There we go.
Stick
Perfect.
the heads onto the
All right,
bodies from
I'm
the
actually gonna
catalog.
share your thing right now while we're sticking
right.
here.
Oh, sweet.
And
Yeah.
just post it on my timeline. You'll see it. You'll probably like it. You see all my posts.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, Tyler. There you go. I shared that and I liked it, and I'll send you my physical address. That's what I'll do. With an envelope for the money for the lawsuit already. That's gonna happen as soon as this is done, and we'll all be all set. All right. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you so much for being here, Arthur. It means a lot. And yeah, we'll send you our stuff, like the songs we've written and stuff. Like,
Cool. Yeah. Well, so I'll keep in touch with you with my music. Or start
totally.
something.
No, I've got both you guys on
Awesome.
on the horrible
book.
social media, so I can follow you from there. So yeah,
I'm gonna
but yeah,
fade
keep
out the
sending me
show
stuff, and,
here.